Hey y'all, Tom, ND3N here, and thanks for dropping into my shack for a Ham Shack chat. This time we're going to be looking at setting up for the CW mode on the fantastic little FT-710. There is a misconception of what this radio really is. Most people think that it's a limited version of the FT-DX10, which, by the way, is itself a limited version of the FT-DX101 line. Actually, the 710 is a completely different radio and something new in the Yaesu lineup. While the FT-DX101 and FT-DX10 are hybrid SDRs, and that means that the initial receive is run through a traditional but very advanced heterodyning radio circuitry, which uses analog mixer circuitry to down-convert the receive frequency to an intermediate frequency. Then it goes through an A to D converter and through an FPGA to process the remainder of the receive side as a digital signal. Now, the FT-710 is a direct sampling SDR, where the incoming signal is immediately converted to a digital signal, fed to an FPGA, and processed across the entire rig as a digital signal. That said, however, functionally the operation of the radio is very similar to its big and bigger brothers in the Yaesu line, or perhaps it would be better to describe them as elder cousins, still in the same family but at least once removed.
She's my second cousin once removed.
In this video we will be discussing what you'll need to operate CW, setting up your rig for transmitting CW, decoding received CW, 3 ways to record and play back pre-recorded CW messages, and a few things you can do to improve your receive signal. I encourage you to take a look at the video description where I've included links to help you research and perhaps purchase this rig, accessories, and some software. I've also included chapters where you can directly go to sections you want to view or review. As always, any questions, concerns, corrections, and I thank you for those, or just general remarks can be made in the comment section below.
Comments?
There's a few things that you're going to want to have for doing CW on the FT-710. The first is a set of paddles or a straight key. These can be plugged directly in, or you can run them through an external keyer. For the external keyer, I recommend the WinKeyer USB, and by the way, I do recommend the Vibraplex brand of keyers. They have both straight keys and keyers and bugs and all kinds of variations on a theme, so you can get something that will suit your operating capabilities. I like to use a set of paddles, and I really like the customer service at Vibraplex. When I made a move a couple of years ago from Maryland out to Ohio, one of the keyers I had actually got bent out of shape. I contacted Vibraplex. They had me send it in. They fixed it, cleaned it all up, replaced all the parts that had been bent, and the price was pretty reasonable. The final thing that you want to have is a CW decoder, especially if you're learning. Having this as a backup is real handy. This one that I have up on the screen, the CW decoder, is the most sensitive and reliable one I've seen. And the reason you need a CW decoder here is, unlike all the other Yaesus that I have, the FT-710 does not have a built-in decoder. Now that said, having a built-in decoder isn't all that.
Why?
It is handy. However, when it's up and running, you lose most of the rest of your screens. You don't get the visual clues of the waterfall or the 3D display to tune in and get another CW signal. All of these are nice to have. They're not necessary. Even paddles are not absolutely necessary. They are very nice to have, and they will increase your skills. The external keyer is not necessary to have, but it's nice to have. And I'll explain a lot of this as we go on with the video. Before we move on to the meat of the video, and if you're enjoying this so far, please take a moment to pop that thumbs up icon and give me a like.
I really like it.
So there's a few settings that we want to make on the rig, and to begin with, I'm going to let you know I'm plugged into a dummy load.
Dummy.
So nothing that I do here will actually go out on the air. Also, for this very first part, I've got my paddles plugged directly into the back of the rig, bypassing the external keyer. So we're going to start by going into our functions, and you can do that by either pressing the functions, and that'll bring it up, or on the 710, you can right click anywhere in here, and that will also bring it up. So now that we're in our functions, you can see that I've got my keyer off and my break-in off. I'm going to go to my CW settings, up here under the keyer section and the keyer type. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to change that to off. This sets me up for a straight key. Now I'm going to come here, I'm going to turn my keyer on, and I'm just going to simulate a straight key by hitting one side of my paddles. Now I'm going to come back down here to CW settings, keyer type, and I'm going to change that to the default of Ella key B. All of these different settings in here, with the exception of off, talk about how the paddles are going to react to your fist. Elecraft B is what I like. It's also the default. So we're going to go back, and with the keyer still on, I'm going to come here and send just a quick CQ. To put this on the air, come here and turn on your break-in. And if you watch the rig, you'll see it indicate that I am actually transmitting.
Red light, red light, red, red.
So let me go back, and that's what you do if you have your paddles plugged straight in. So now we're going to talk about putting the wind keyer or some other external keyer onto our system. This is my wind keyer, and I'm going to be plugging my key, and you can see it right here. You want to make sure that you're using a tip ring sleeve connection, and I'm going to plug that into the back of my wind keyer, and I put a link in the video description where you can purchase a wind keyer as well. If you want to use another external keyer, they're all good. They all work. As a matter of fact, many of them use the K1EL chip, which is the heart of the wind keyer and was developed by the same person who makes the wind keyer. We're going to get to our functions by right-clicking anywhere in the background. I'm using my mouse, and go to CW settings. If you recall, when we were directly plugged in with the paddle, we were using the Ella key B. This time we're going to move it down to the off position, which, as I mentioned before, is what you're using if you're doing a straight key. So the wind keyer connects to the rig just like it's a straight key. Now we're going to turn our keyer on, and a quick CQ just to show you that that's working. To put it on the air, and again I'm into a dummy load, turn the break-in on, and you can see that working. There are 5 memories with the ability to store up to 50 CW characters in each one. This bypasses your external keyer if you're using one. I'm going to start by going to our functions, and I'm using my mouse, so I'll right click, and we're going to come down here to CW settings. We're going to set CW memory 1 to text, 2 to text, and 5 to text. CW memory 3, we're going to select that and set it to message. We're going to do the same thing with CW4. Don't worry about the difference between text and message at this point. We'll describe that more as we go through. Back on out of here, and we're going to set our break-in to off. It doesn't matter what you have the keyer in. So we're going to start our recording process by going here to message. I'm going to click on memory. You'll note that the record light is flashing. And I'm going to click on memory 1. Now you'll notice I had something in here from previous. So we're going to delete that. You just have to click through, clicking on this forward arrow. then we're just going to X on out of here. Now I'm going to put in my call sign twice. And I'm going to click enter. Now we're going to go back. I'm going to go to my messages again. Click on message. I'm going to click on number 1. And you heard my call sign twice. I'm going to back on out of here, and to actually put your message out over the air, we're going to go to our functions. We're going to turn our break-in on, and we can turn the keyer on at this point as well, though it really doesn't matter. All of this is independent from any external keyers or anything like that. So now we're going to go back here to messages. I am running into a dummy load and only using 5 watts. So I'm going to click on my call sign up here. And you can see that I was actually transmitting. Now we're going to talk about doing the same thing but using our remote control. This is the FH2 remote control, and that's what I'm going to be using to enter this message. The cost is $94.95 at Ham Radio Outlet and many other outlets as well. And HRO offers free shipping on orders over $100. So you may want to combine this purchase with another to push it over the threshold. Or when you're buying your rig, just add this to your cart before you check out. This remote works on all of my Yaesu radios and many other Yaesu radios, so you'll have to check those. I've purchased a total of 3 of them, which are used currently on my DX10, DX101MP, and of course the 710. I don't have one on my FT-991A yet. You can find some aftermarket remotes on Amazon, and they say they work just as well. And with something that I use constantly, yes, the remote could be used for more than just CW. I prefer to have the Yaesu one, but that could just be me.
It's not you, it's me.
So we're going to go to our functions, and this time I'm going to push the function button just to show you that that works too. And I'm going to turn the keyer off, and I'm going to turn the break-in off. Now I'm going to get back out of here. This is on our regular screen, and I'm going to use the remote. And I'm going to try to hold it up here so you can see what's happening. I'm going to press memory, and you can see my blinking red light right there. I'm going to select memory 2. That pops up this screen. I'm going to enter a CQ message. Since most of us are familiar with Field Day, and maybe you made it out for this year, and maybe you went out with your club on Field Day or operated it from your shack, I'm using this because it's an exchange that is familiar to many of us. As I said, this is going to be a CQ message, so I'm going to enter CQ space FD for Field Day space and my call sign twice. And enter it. To see if this works, I'm going to go back to my remote. I'm going to press memory number 2. And that message works. Again, to transmit, we go here, we turn our break-in off. I'm going to leave my keyer off. And we'll go back. And again, I'm going to press memory number 2 right up here. I'm going to enter another message. So this time it's going to be my goodbye 73 message. So I'm going to press on MEM for memory. The record light starts to flash. I'm going to select 5 and I'm going to enter 73 space DE space Tom. To get to our punctuation, you click on this button right here. I'm going to select a comma and a space, back to our lettering, ND3N, a space, and a K, just to indicate that we're all done. So now I'm going to enter that, and I'll remind you that our break-in is still on, and you can see that right here. Break-in is on. I am running into a dummy load, so I'm just going to press the number 5. And that one plays. Now there's another way that we can record messages into the messages that we sent. And I'm going to just give you a quick refresher here. I'm going to go down here to CW settings. Please note that I've turned the keyer type to Elecraft B, and I have my keyer plugged directly into the rig. I also moved my key off to the side, off screen, so that I could more easily access it and put it in a place where I would actually be using it during regular operations. As you may recall, down here when we set up our memories, our CW memories, right here under 3 and 4, we changed that to message. We're going to back on out of here. I'm going to make sure my keyer is turned on, my break-in is turned off. I'm going to back on out of here just a second. Note that my function key is set CW speed, and I'm going to turn that down to 10 words per minute. I'm going to get back into the functions. I'm going to go to message. You'll note that 3 and 4, which were set to message as opposed to the rest of these, which were set to text, these have the little dots in them. We're going to use our paddles to record our message. We're going to start by going to memory. You'll note the record light is flashing. We're going to select a memory location, and then within 10 seconds, I'm going to start sending. So we're going to select memory, flashing light. Pretty quickly, I'm going to click on the 3, get a solid light. I'm going to send the field day exchange, starting with RRR. My call sign. Then 1D Ohio. And when we're completed with that, we're going to click on memory. Now I'm going to go back. We're going to go back in here to messages, and I'm just going to click on 3. Going to back on out of here, and this time for the next message, which is going to be our thank you ND3N QRZ, completing the conversation mostly. I'm going to go to my remote control. I'm going to press memory number 4, and I'm going to send. And when we're done, I'm going to press memory again. So we're going to test the memory we just stored by pressing the 4 button. Now, that's awful slow, and I recorded it slowly, much slower than I would usually do. But if you notice here, I've got my function key set to CW speed. So I'm going to increase my speed up to 25 words per minute. And again, I'm going to press first 3, which is the field day exchange. And 4. So So whatever speed you recorded at, you can change your CW speed afterwards to a more contest level speed. Now again, to make sure that we are actually transmitting, I'm going to turn my break-in on. For this one, I'm going to go to message. I'm going to select 3. And 4. And I'll also select 4. Before we move on to the receive side of things, let's look at where the radio sits as far as receive. And our best resource for this is the Sherwood report. The FT-710 appears in 4th place on this report, behind the FT-101D/MP, the Flex Radio 6700, and the FT-10. Now here's a list of the top 10 rigs on the list. I've linked the Sherwood report in the video description, and I encourage you to take a closer look, especially at the notes at the bottom of the list. The importance of your receive cannot be overstated. If you have a nice, crisp, clean transmit, and if the ionospheric odds are in your favor,
May the odds be ever in your favor.
your signal will be heard. But if you can't hear them, you can't work them. So let's work on making them better heard. If this information has been of value to you as an FT10 user, or maybe as a prospective 710 user, please share.
Thank you for sharing.
With your friends and compatriots in the ham radio community and on social media. So we've got all our transmit taken care of. So let's take a look and see what we can do to improve our receive. I am off the dummy load. I'm receiving on the air, 15 meters. I've got a pretty weak signal here. The first thing, visually, you'll notice that I've got my function set to level, which increases or decreases the background. So I like to turn it where I get a little bit of the noise floor, but can still see primarily the signal. The other thing is, I would recommend a straight waterfall as opposed to the 3D. The 3D can get real crowded and noisy, and sometimes it's hard to pick things out.
But it's pretty, it's very pretty.
So I would recommend you stay on the waterfall, but that of course is completely up to you. Now I'm going to turn my sound up. I want you to listen to the background. Even though I'm not moving the S meter at all, I'm going to turn my RF gain down. And you can hear how the signal cleared up. Next thing we want to do is make sure that we are zeroed in. That's the second button from the left on the top row. So I'm going to press that. So I'm getting a German station here. That's DL5YM. He's calling CQ. He's getting a lot of folks coming back to him, so we should be able to hold on to his signal for a while. Now the next thing I want to show you is all hidden away behind this knob. It's labeled the DSP knob, but I'm going to go ahead and tap that, and we're going to go into width. And I'm going to narrow that down to 300, which gets a lot of the additional noise off the side. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to push that button again, and I'm going to show you my notch. I'm going to click that, and click it again, and you can see up top, see that little notch there? This is really good for getting rid of adjacent noise. Now I'm going to turn my notch off. So I'm going to push that button again, the DSP, and I've got my contour. I'm going to select it, and we're going to adjust it. And you can see the contour is moving around up on top there. It's a little less harsh of a notch. I'm going to turn it off. That German station changed his frequency, but I happened to find him again, and he's coming in pretty well here. I'm going to show you one more thing. Now we're going to press our DSP, and you'll see contour there. I'm going to turn my contour off, and you see it's changed over here to APF. We're going to click on that to select it, and you'll see I'm set at 0. That means 0 hertz away from my side tone frequency. Now I'm going to go back in here, select it, and I'm going to change my DSP, and you can see up on top what's happening is I've got a very narrow band filter, and right in the middle of that, or at 0 hertz, it's going to actually give a little amplification to that. APF is automatic peak frequency, and as soon as this guy comes back, you should be able to see and hear the difference. I'm going to turn it off, and you can hear what happened to the background noise. Between all of these, they're going to help you hear better. But that's not all you can do, and there are other videos out there that spend 20 minutes explaining exactly how to listen and all the different settings. I just wanted to give you a couple high points to help you appreciate CW more.
Let's finish this.
I hope this video has been helpful and perhaps even encouraged you to give this mode a try. I also hope you've not only learned something, but that you enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed putting it all together for you. Future videos about using CW on the FT-710 will include interfacing with the N3 FJP amateur contact log, interfacing with FL-Digi as both a transmit encoder and receive decoder, and setting up for a contest using a combination of the FT-710, N3 FJP contest logs, and FL-Digi. 73 until the next Hey Y'all. As always, I am at your service. This has been a Ham Shack chat featuring the Yaesu FT-710 and the CW mode. I'm Tom, ND3N, and I am out.
Where do we go from here?